Story 1. For a whole year, I bought every single tub of top potato dip within a 100-mile radius of the grocery store where I used to work. This was because of a difficult customer who threw a fit when we were out of it. She needed to buy 2 tubs every week for parties she had been hosting for years. She tried to file a complaint because, as a cashier, I had no way of knowing when it would be restocked. My suggestion that she call in the morning to speak with the dairy department manager was considered me being lazy. Every time she came in after that when I was working, she would scoff and roll her eyes at me. Sorry to everyone else who wanted to buy it, but it was important that I personally dealt with this difficult customer. Story 2. Unhinged? I would hire people to collect DNA samples from chewing gum stuck in public places like tables and sidewalks. Then, I would send a certified letter stating that I have a DNA copy from gum left at the specific location, just to confuse them. Story 3. Travel to the bottom of the ocean in a glorified water heater controlled by a video game controller. Maybe bring 4 other wealthy individuals along with me. Story 4. Hire a Navy SEAL team to find and disable scammers who prey on elderly individuals. Human-shaped demons. Story 5. I would donate a significant amount of money to cities in exchange for having my name on everything. Schools, libraries, streets, and parks. All would be funded and maintained by me and bear my name. Even the city itself would be renamed after me. Everything else in the city would remain the same, except for recent upgrades to all facilities that were previously managed by the city. Win-win. Story 6. Fly a plane over small towns towing a massive banner that says, "Where's your plane, peasants?" Story 7. Commission a double-decker articulated bus and make it wheelchair accessible. There would be a phone booth-sized elevator car or platform lift to the 2nd level. The bottom of the trailing section would be fitted out as a garage for a wheelchair-accessible K-van. Nobody has made a bus that was both double-decked and articulated since the Neoplan Jumbo Cruiser in the 1970s. 2 surviving examples were converted into tour buses for musicians. One was turned into a recreational vehicle. My youngest son has a terminal genetic disease. He has 10 to 15 years left. I would love to take him on an epic road trip across the continent. He is in a wheelchair full-time now. For some destinations, such as the giant redwoods of California or the Disability Water Park in Texas, he will need alternative chairs. Track chairs for nature preserves and stainless steel manual ones for water parks. Because of the need for transfer hoists, he requires a bathroom much larger than those typically found in recreational vehicles. If I could accomplish this, it would be the largest road-legal recreational vehicle in North America and, to the best of my knowledge, the only road-legal vehicle in the world with an elevator. Story 8. Hire an aviation company to create skywriting messages daily in various cities. Story 9. How wealthy? Billions or millions? Millions. Spontaneous comic book store and vintage video game investment. Go in and buy large parts of the store's collection. Decide to fully collect a series of comics. I need the entire run of New Warriors. What do you have? Same with video games. Yes. I want every copy of Double Dragon you have in stock. Billions. Drive through random neighborhoods. Identify people who own and live in their homes. Secretly pay off their mortgages. Never reveal who did it. Story 10. If I had unlimited cash, I would pay artists, engineers, and scientists to create completely nonsensical yet elaborate artifacts that look like they are from an advanced ancient civilization. Then, I would secretly bury them in random archaeological sites around the world and wait for people to discover them. Imagine historians losing their minds over a perfectly preserved computer from 5,000 years ago or a beautifully crafted stone tablet that predicts future events with eerie accuracy. I would be the world's most dedicated anonymous prankster, rewriting history books from the shadows just for my own entertainment. Story 11. Buy an 18-hole golf course and turn it into a gigantic miniature golf course that anyone can play. Story 12. When other drivers cut in front of me or cut me off, I wouldn't brake. I would go through all the hassle with the police, insurance, and possibly courts. I don't drive recklessly, so I would never intentionally cause a collision. I just let collisions where I wouldn't be at fault happen. It would probably teach many bad drivers a good lesson. Story 13. I have a plan. There are two large hills in my hometown, each rising a few hundred feet above the rest of the city and separated by about a mile. I would buy both hills, which would involve purchasing all the low-income housing on one hill and relocating a senior care home. I would restrict access to the hilltops by building a low-ceiling tunnel that only my Lamborghini or a similarly low car could fit through. I would give one hill to my friend and keep the other for myself, building large, imposing mansions on each. I would install large trebuchets on both hills, and my friend and I would occasionally launch projectiles at each other's houses just for fun. Story 14. Buy out every company Piers Morgan tried to work for and keep firing him. Story 15. I would buy Nickelodeon Universe at the Mall of America solely so I could open a Krusty Krab restaurant. Story 16. Buy a large restaurant, replace all the seating with armchairs, and turn it into a place where you can only order drinks and snacks and read the paper but not talk at all. Hire security personnel to strictly enforce this rule. Story 17. Buy off a group of high-level politicians on both sides and record them selling their souls for money, then publicly expose them all for the massive problems they are. Story 18. Definitely looking to be the person who gives $500 to everyone who touches my food every time I eat out. You cannot buy that level of satisfaction. Story 19. Fix Puerto Rico's power grid and infrastructure in general. Story 20. Purchase all belongings inside the home of someone I dislike and create an unpleasant environment for them. Story 21. I am going to buy a Harrier fighter jet and expose Pepsi for deceiving us. Story 22. Spend my money helping the less fortunate while criticizing the wealthy for not doing enough. Story 23. Equip all ill-tempered sea base with laser beams on their heads. Story 24. My dream has always been to be wealthy enough to eat a panda steak. Story 25. Hire about 30 people and many Lego bricks to precisely create a one-to-one recreation of Lego City from the game Lego City Undercover. Story 26. I would buy the Popeyes franchise in my town and fire everyone because they forgot my sweet heat and blackened ranch sauces one time. I would then put up signs that we were hiring for $40 an hour. It would be my private Popeyes. Story 27. Introducing motorsports aggressively into the country where I live with determination. Buy large plots of land and convert them into racetracks, open various racing schools, and ignore complaints. I will make this place the leading country in motorsports in Southeast Asia, whether others like it or not. Story 28. Doll's modern arrest attempt reminiscent cooing society hobbies vanish abounding. Story 29. I don't know if this is unhinged or not, but I would spend a lot of money improving my city, mainly for myself. I would buy several buildings downtown and turn them into stores and restaurants that I want to be there. For example, I wish there was a bookstore that looked and felt like it was straight out of Skyrim, with large spiral staircases and huge fireplaces. The entire place would be made of wood, stone, and black iron. I would build a large water park with exciting slides and limit the occupancy to a quarter capacity so it would never be crowded, allowing me to visit anytime I wanted. I would also build sports stadiums and create teams that I own and control so I could attend the games. Essentially, I would become influential in my city and improve the places I want to visit. It is unclear if I would be philanthropic about it. This plan sounds like something Eric Cartman would do, so it might be more unhinged than I realize. Story 30. Clone and bring the dodo bird back to life, then eat it. Story 31. It's not crazy or outlandish. I would wear a fresh, out-of-the-package new pair of socks every day. Story 32. Helping your community, family, friends, bettering science in an ethical way, or anything humanitarian is not unhinged. Buying a house or traveling is also not crazy in any way. I know you all will not let me down. Story 33. Open a 24-hour sandwich shop. Have them make me whatever sandwich I want whenever I want it. I shall never want for sandwich again. Oh, and they will have real root beer. Story 34. Be Batman. All these billionaires and not a single Batman. My fundraising campaign is Story 35. Buy Fox News and replace its personalities overnight with the most diverse, environmentally conscious socialists I can find. Story 36. Barrett Jackson Auction. Buy a collection of one-of-a-kind cars. Then hold a pay-per-view smash-up derby with them. Ladies and gentlemen, number 62. The 1962 Batmobile. Used for 5 seasons. Number 5. James Bond's 1964 Aston Martin DB5. Featured in both Goldfinger and Thunderball. Now entering the arena. The 1950 Mercury from the 1986 movie Cobra. She is going to give the Batmobile a run for her money. Oh my no. Not Herbie the Love Bug. Story 37. Buy every golf course and turn them into children's playgrounds. Story 38. I would take a helicopter to travel to another location. Traffic in my city is heavy, so being in a helicopter would save me travel time immediately. Story 39. Buy the Star Wars intellectual property back from Disney and give Rian Johnson full and unlimited creative control. Story 40. Build a swimming pool filled with classic Beanie Babies. Not the unattractive modern ones with large eyes. Story 41. There were a few things we found in Las Vegas that sparked this discussion between my boyfriend and me. For $2,000, you could crush a car with a tank, and there was also a company that let you reenact a Top Gun scene in a plane. We said if we were extremely wealthy, we would do something like that. Story 42. Buy an airplane to release methane gas every day over my ex's house. Story 43. Vegas penthouse suite and see how much trouble I can get into. High rollers get to see a completely different side of Las Vegas. Story 44. Hire a Navy SEAL team to find and disable scammers who prey on elderly individuals. Human-shaped demons. Story 45. Collect interesting items, display them in a museum, and serve as a guide for visitors. Story 46. Build a school full of supplies so children and teachers do not have to worry about meals or books. It would be the envy of all. Story 47. Build or relocate a medieval castle including a moat and drawbridge. I would pay the zoning commission to be allowed to place it in the middle of a very high-end suburb in Middle America. Story 48. A guy I worked with once said, "If I win the lottery, I will open a sweatshop assembling things and then have those go next door to my next sweatshop to disassemble and send back next door." Funny dude though. Story 49. I do not think it would be considered unhinged, but I would immediately have personal chef and chauffeur services. Just send the invoice every month. I would never drive or cook again. Story 50. I have thought about this a few times recently. I would invite every homeless person in Chicago to get on a bus and rent out a banquet center somewhere to provide everyone with fresh clothes and shoes, a new haircut, a hot meal, gift cards for future meals, a satchel of toiletries, a cell phone, and then have a conversation with a counselor to possibly get them government assistance, mental health care, actual health care, and more. Treat them like they are visible and worthy of love. Then, every month or so, I would text them on their phones and invite them back to the banquet center for another meal and to restock the items they might need, encouraging them to bring friends who are also experiencing hard times. I figure I have the resources, so companies would want to donate time, products, and services to be associated with this effort. After a few years of investing in this, I would surprise all of these people with the login and password to an investment account in their name that has been generating income and interest since their first banquet center shower. Now, they are self-sufficient and possibly willing to donate their time to help others. They may choose not to, but they are happy, and that is the point. Also, I would be comfortable in my own way. Story 51. Buy a blimp that says, "Forget you," to my boss's name and have it fly over his house. Story 52. Hide $10 million in pennies in a chest somewhere on the planet. Hide the location behind different riddles in a made-up code that needs to be deciphered. Open a casting call. Only those who are invited may participate in the quest to crack the code. Only the person who cracks the code may excavate the chest. No magnets allowed. No help from others. Only shovels are allowed, which must be purchased from my shovel company. Travel costs are not included. By the way, 2,500 tons is the weight of the pennies. Story 53. I will tell you what I would do, man. 2 women at the same time, man. Story 54. Know that suction device at the dentist? I would have that system in my house. Story 55. I would buy a small island and build a fully functioning medieval village. It would be amazing. Then I would invite YouTubers. Easy money and easy flex. Story 56. Get an epic Diddy-style boat. That sunny joke did not age well. Story 57. Buy a large amount of city real estate and lower the rent to prevent residents from moving to the suburbs and negatively impacting them. Story 58. I would never wear the same pair of socks twice. I would be the most wasteful person on the planet when it comes to socks. Story 59. Either put on a huge high-quality fireworks show or make my house glow as bright as the sun during the holidays. Story 60. Rewild every golf course into wildlife habitats and food forests. Story 61. Not sure it is unhinged, but I would do what Shaquille O'Neal does. Go to stores and buy many things for people. Story 62. Buy a fighter jet and use it like a private jet to travel everywhere. More realistically, I would buy a private jet, get trained in it, then hire staff to handle flight planning and filing. I would fly the route myself with a co-pilot so I can take bathroom breaks. Story 63. Find jobs listed in the anti-work subreddit and be highly effective. Story 64. Ever since I watched Blast from the Past as a child, I have wanted to build a bunker. Story 65. I would regularly get into minor traffic collisions. For example, if someone was driving recklessly and cutting me off, I would rear-end them hard enough to damage their car, then get out, walk away, and have my secretary handle the insurance. Sometimes, I would even return to the scene with a new car to gloat before continuing with my day. Story 66. Buy Red Deer, Alberta. Bulldoze it. Build the town back entirely out of soft foam. Story 67. Run for President of the United States after bankrupting a number of different companies and grabbing women inappropriately. Story 68. Build a towering statue of the thinker, but instead, depict Donald taking a dump. I would allow people to urinate on it for a small fee, which would be donated for its continued upkeep. I want it to be about the size of the Statue of Liberty. Place it as close to his grave as allowed, or at Mar-a-Lago. Also, I would buy that area and turn it into a public golf course with free play for veterans and similar programs. I understand it is not entirely sensible, but spending money out of spite would likely burn through a significant amount of funds. Story 69. Buy a bear and a tiger and watch them fight to the death. Story 70. I don't personally find this extreme, but others apparently do. Buy a massive piece of undeveloped land, like much of Alaska or Montana, preferably with forests, mountain ranges, and natural bodies of water, and create my own national park with much stronger protections. I would run it like a small country under my control. For example, I would only permit certain people to live on the land rent-free and ensure they never have to worry about supplies by establishing a reliable supply chain using my wealth. I would hire park rangers to patrol and stop poachers immediately, as well as veterinarians, groundskeepers, environmental researchers, and others to maintain the park. If there were any investigations into missing poachers, I would pay off the necessary authorities to look the other way or handle the situation as a threat to the safety of my home. I want to ensure that a beautiful piece of land is preserved in all its glory, and eventually sponsor limited groups to experience that beauty, since many people never get the chance. However, if I fail to properly vet these groups, such as if a child damages property or someone causes a forest fire during a gender reveal, I would take strict action against them. Story 71. Constant hot water fountain pool room. Not for parties, just for me, with all the luxury bath products all around. Story 72. Reunite my old band, Funky Chicken Reactor, and go on a world tour. Story 73. I would make sure that everyone has access to drinking water and a restroom. Story 74. I would work full-time donating money to charities, such as giving $150 million to a dog shelter and similar causes. Story 75. I would have an entrance song and World Wrestling Entertainment type smoke machines at every establishment I walk into, whether it is a Walgreens or a restaurant, so when I enter, it is like Prince entering a room, all majestic. They would set up before I arrived, of course. I am thinking Money, Money, Money by ABBA or Money for Nothing drum intro by Dire Straits. Story 76. Do absolutely nothing for a whole week. Just sleep, order food, watch television, and read books. No work. Story 77. Get a bunch of stem cells injected into me and my friends. Baby juicing. Story 78. I would pay for many people's emergency veterinary bills on Christmas and Thanksgiving anonymously. Story 79. Destroy all my enemies with my 5,000-foot-tall flying robotic dinosaur. I would be in the cockpit stomping them all. Story 80. Have a group of people with dwarfism dress me in the morning, coming out of the wardrobe at top speed. It is similar to a pit stop in Formula One. Story 81. Purchase entire communities of housing and sell them exclusively to individuals, not property management companies, at affordable rates. Story 82. I don't know if it's unhinged, but I would fund all the dog shelters in the country and send out mobile neuter and spay teams full-time. Take back stewardship over our dogs in this country. Story 83. Full staff. Driver, chef, household manager, secretary, bookkeeper, professional closet organizer, gardeners, information technology staff, cleaning crew, ghostwriter, carpenters, painters, electricians, interior decorators, travel concierge, pilot, valet, laundress, esthetician for professional hair and makeup at home. I just want a vacation from the work of being me. Story 84. Buy the school I went to and finally fulfill my promise to burn it down. I will provide popcorn, fireworks, seats, and invite all my childhood friends. Let's make it a great evening overall. Story 85. Fund scientific research that is vetted, but they have a tier list based on how much I give. The deciding factor will be a 20-sided dice. Story 86. Purchase the rights to every unpleasant song I never want to hear again and revoke all publications, streaming or otherwise. Alternatively, acquire Applied Materials Incorporated and Touchtones and remove them from their catalog. Story 87. Keep my house but buy all the houses on my street and give them to people who I want to be my neighbors. If they do not like any of the houses, I will have them remodeled to whatever they want. Story 88. I would buy companies I do not like just to tank them and transfer all the employees to a company I own that I do like. Story 89. Give away most of my money. I do not want to be extremely wealthy, just comfortable enough to not work and be able to enjoy life. I honestly do not know what I would do with millions besides buy a new motorcycle and travel around the world whenever I want. As long as I, my family, and my close friends are comfortable, I do not need too much extra. Story 90. Buy the majority of the land in my area and protect it from overdevelopment. Each year, cultivate and give away the crops to my town's farmers and others. Story 91. Have you ever seen the Butterfly Conservatory at the Detroit Zoo? I would like to create something similar, but for Pallas cats at a small local zoo that has one of the most successful breeding programs in the United States. The design would be in the Persian garden style, featuring lush greenery, spaces for other Southwest Asian animals, intricate tile and brickwork, fountains, and stained glass. The juxtaposition of such a beautiful space with a fluffy little predator that looks perpetually disgruntled is everything to me. Story 92. By the Super Bowl halftime show. I would treat the world to the view of my living room as we enjoy a replay of the Prince halftime show from YouTube. Story 93. I would hire a body double to go on vacation as me, while I carry out covert night missions in Africa to stop elephant poachers. Additionally, I would begin a secret campaign against illegal Chinese fishing. Story 94. After all the noble activities are done, I would open a political action committee and lobby national-level politicians to include laws in budget policy riders that are mildly inconvenient to other wealthy individuals. For example, requiring anyone over a high income level to appear in person at the courthouse to file forms for their property and taxes. Money is not as valuable when you have a large amount, but time is. Story 95. I put all my money into body transfer clone technology research. It is unhinged and illegal because it would probably involve many covert human trials. Money does no good if age will kill you eventually. This makes me wonder why existing ultra-rich people are not fully investing in it. Story 96. Build myself a mansion with a bunker capable of surviving a nuclear war with my friends. It would have self-sufficient food production, the entire world's knowledge and history archived on microfilm, and enough machinery to restart civilization. This includes agricultural and mining machines, a small blast furnace, and a fully operational computer chip fabrication plant. Nuclear war is the greatest threat to humanity, and the more people archive and stockpile resources, the better. Story 97. Wandering the Earth, stalking and observing personally identified high-value targets for global harm reduction purposes. Most likely, targeting other extremely wealthy individuals and making it appear as an accident. Story 98. I work for a non-profit organization. If I had total financial freedom, I would offer to retire the debt of the organization, approximately $7 million US, if they agree to let go of 4 employees who really need to move on in life. Story 99. A bathroom that occupies an entire floor. I do not know how it will be, but it will be. Story 100. Pay off all my debt using money in gallon drums from their yard. Story 101. I would befriend the worst politicians, businessmen, and lobbyists, in general the worst people in my country. Then, I would invite them all to a very fancy party and line the entire building with explosives. I would make a big speech, imitate Bilbo Baggins, and leave before the timer hits 0. Story 102. Truth be told, I vividly daydream about this. My daydreams are so glorious that returning to reality ruins the rest of the day. I would hire a highly skilled team of former Navy SEALs and other elite military personnel, outfit them with the most advanced technology, with absolutely no budget constraints, and deploy them worldwide with one order: aggressively eliminate every animal fighting ring, legal or illegal, with extreme prejudice while rescuing the animals. Story 103. Build a full-scale set for all my favorite plays and musicals with a crew, orchestra, and cast on call for whenever I want to watch one. Story 104. A year-long party of sex workers and cocaine with a touch of Las Vegas. Story 105. I would buy billboard space in my hometown, many of them. Then, I would print poor Yelp and Google reviews of businesses I dislike or that are owned by people I dislike. I would continue this for years, posting a new review each month. Story 106. Make a name for myself as a musician, get really popular, fake my death, wait 5 years, then release an album. I might also drop hints that I am still alive, just to see what kind of chaos ensues. Story 107. I would build a floating city on the ocean like in Stargate Atlantis, market it as the latest in luxury living, and sell properties to everyone I dislike. Then, once they have all moved in, I would sink it. Story 108. Build a collapsible submersible and encourage other millionaires and billionaires to take trips to the Titanic while I buy out their companies. Or take one-way trips to the moon in spaceships made by Boeing. The only snacks available are peanuts, pork pies, and Mountain Dew. The toilets are out of order. Ride a snowmobile up Everest. Muhaha. Story 109. Almost 20 years ago, I owned a Toyota 4Runner that I loved. My wife at the time rightly convinced me to sell it, as regular repair costs were becoming astronomical. If I came into a large sum of money, I would hire somebody to find it, bring it back to me, and then I would completely rebuild it. Bonus idea. I would buy a piece of property and build a large man cave designed to look like a Quake 2 bunker. Story 110. Pay for a number of advertisements, such as billboards and planes that fly with an advertisement attached, which only display vague and unsettling messages without providing any contact information or website. Story 111. I would harm the family member who abused me as a child immediately. Story 112. Start a mobile car cleaning company. Buy a ton of food for seagulls. Just drive around the city with my company truck and earn money. Story 113. Buy out or shut down the companies that did not hire me. Put them out of business by any means necessary. Start my own similar business and be the change for my employees. Give them the chance I was denied. Story 114. Go back to work and apologize for not coming back ever again. Story 115. Burn a brand new Rolls-Royce in my hometown city center dressed in old money style clothing, smoking a cigar, and filming the whole scene in slow motion video just because I can. Story 116. I would hire engineers to build me a time machine to go Terminator on J.K. Rowling, Walt Disney, my ex's parents, Donald Trump's parents, Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady, Pontius Pilate, and I would bring Hitler to the time of Jesus. Story 117, go to every restaurant that has appeared on diners, drive-ins and dives, or at least the ones that still exist. Story 118, build a large water park with all the exciting features only a Double Dare fan would dream of. Mashed potato pool? Yes. Pumpkin puree geysers? Absolutely. Water slides flowing applesauce, oatmeal, and spaghetti? You bet. Are you ready? On your mark, get set, go. Story 119. I would make the lives of some of the other extremely wealthy people very difficult. Constantly cause problems for them. When they start to board their private jet, call the federal authorities and report that the jet is smuggling drugs. Things like that, sustained over years. Story 120. I would challenge some of the people who say that our current oligarchs could end hunger and homelessness to present a plan. Then I would hire experts to evaluate if it would work, and I would implement it. Story 121. Probably by Twitter, rename it X, and fly to Mars. Oh wait. Story 122. Wait, I have another good one. Run for the office of the President of the United States of America. Only a true narcissistic lunatic wants that thankless headache of a job. Story 123. Send the military to gather everyone who does not support me. Story 124. If I suddenly became evil and corrupted with power, I would buy Tesla and Elon Musk's Neuralink chip and have it discreetly implanted into every human on Earth. Then I would take control and start a blood sport in the arena in Los Angeles or Las Vegas that pits people against each other in gladiatorial free-for-alls. The winner would be rewarded by being transported to a poor imitation of sword art online for the rest of the world to watch on television, similar to a reality show. I would also buy North Korea. Why North Korea? Because it is a hellhole, and even at my worst, I would not allow that situation to continue. If I were rich enough to be in control, I would not allow that on my planet. Story 125. I would start buying hospitals, firing all the administration staff, and providing healthcare for free. I would not need to deal with insurance or the government. Hopefully, the good public relations would generate enough donations to make it sustainable. Maybe a pay-what-you-can type of insurance. Realistically, the hospital would burn through $1 billion within a couple of years. Story 126. Buy all of the abandoned malls, turn them into housing facilities for the unhoused, gain their favor, educate them, organize them, and compete with Walmart. Still working out the details. Story 127. Buy a bunch of overpriced apartment buildings and convert them to high-rise apartments. Right now, in Denver, a studio apartment costs $2,000 per month or more. There are 6 to 8 apartments per building. Every 4 buildings or so, I should be able to fit in a high-rise with 100 units or more. The apartments will cost the amortized amount of the building for that year, plus upkeep, taxes, and maintenance. I estimate $400 to $600 per month. The apartments will be high quality and eco-friendly. They could be painted in vibrant colors such as a blue building, a yellow building, and so on. Story 128. I will buy North Korea and turn it into a utopia where people worship Abba. Story 129. Create a safe haven refuge for sex offenders, rapists, and abusers. In the public eye, it would be a rehabilitation program. In reality, they would be experimented on with the newest drugs, military experiments, cancer cures, and tested as subjects for various makeup products and medical devices. Their lives would be a living hell. Story 130. Build the largest interactive pinball machine museum in the world open to the public. Second, pay the best modders to remake all the Fallout games in the latest engine. Story 131. I would buy land, build a castle, and surround it with a moat. Why? Why not? Story 132. First, buy an island or even a chain of islands as close to the United States as possible. Declare the islands a sovereign country. Establish myself as monarch and become a literal king. Pay for people to move there. Go to the United Nations to ask for support for infrastructure. If they decline, I will go to Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa and offer them one of my islands as a military outpost in exchange. Start Cold War 2.0 or maybe 3.0. Story 133. I would build an apocalypse bunker in the wilderness of northern Ontario. Not because I think anything will happen, but because I am a hermit at heart and do not like visitors. Story 134. Hunt humans for sport. Just kidding. Probably travel a lot and never sleep in the same place twice. Story 135. Cat sanctuary maintained by employees. Not open to the public because I do not want people abandoning their cats here. Story 136. I want a robot army to carry out my every command and stage gladiatorial battles in the middle of the desert that I own. They will also be programmed to assist in natural disasters, but most importantly, the gladiatorial battles will be historically accurate, except that the gladiators are robots. Story 137. Actually spending all that money intelligently and efficiently to help people in need, not just giving it to charity that will probably waste it on unnecessary things. Story 138. I would have part of my house be like a museum of minerals and gemstones worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Story 139. I would buy a private jet so I can travel all the time with my dog. I would also adopt all the dogs and cats in the shelters and bring them on the private plane so they can travel internationally. Each animal would have their own room in every mansion we stop at. They would also have their own trainers so everyone gets along. Story 140. I will create a fighting organization in a developing country with minimal regulations. It will be similar to mixed martial arts but more intense. Fights will only end by knockout or submission, with very few exceptions. Story 141. Hopefully it is a grossly wealthy payoff. Me? I would give it away wisely. Financial advisors exist. And watch how it pans out with a smile, drinking Franzia and having McDonald's. Story 142. When it happens, I want to buy a large piece of property with natural-fed water springs on it and build a bunker for potential doomsday. Story 143. Determine the date of the next solar eclipse visible from North Sentinel Island. Arrange for a barge to anchor offshore in anticipation of the event. During the totality phase of the eclipse, set off fireworks from the barge. Story 144. Firmly confront the next person giving food service workers a hard time for no reason in my presence. Story 145. Okay, so let's say I am Elon Musk rich with around $300 billion. One thing I would do is put about 300 people on one of those cruises around the world. Let's make it part married at first sight, part amazing race. Some of the couples will also be actors to create challenges for the other teams. These people will meet for the first time, get married, and then have to compete in competitions around the world in order to get back onto the cruise and continue traveling. Those around-the-world cruises cost about $80,000 per person and can hold around 600 to 700 guests. Half of those would be crew members. We want 24/7 recording of everyone. So, 700 guests at $80,000 a person is $56 million. The winning teams will get prizes at various stops. They could choose between cash or an event like a private concert with an artist of their choice or something else significant. The winning couple will be offered 3 choices. 1. Break up now and split $2 million. 2. Decide to stay married and get $2 million each. 3. Share $4 million with another couple of their choice and get an unknown bonus. The bonus is that the more generous they are, the more they get. If they give the other couple $2 million, they get $4 million. If they give the other couple all $4 million, they get $8 million. At most, this would probably cost around $200 to $400 million to put together. That is a lot of money, but not when you are Elon Musk rich. Another thing I would do is buy $100 million in real estate across the country. It looks like warehouse space costs about $1 per square foot per month. I would rent a 20,000 square foot warehouse. A 1 kilogram gold bar is approximately $89,000. 1 square foot of gold bars contains about $2.5 million worth. 29 1 kilogram bars. The bars are 0.71 inches high, 1.58 inches wide, and 3.15 inches long. Let's do 10 square feet of bricks, stacked 2 high. That is 20 square feet. Now let's fill a 10,000 square foot warehouse with gold bars and pay employees, preferably hiring people in need such as the homeless, to move the gold bars around all day. Pay them $100,000 a year and match their 401k contributions with a 100% match. Let's do this across the country. Now I have created many jobs. The company will also have a tuition assistance program to help employees earn college degrees. Come up with something to do with the gold bars to earn money. Maybe make a theme park or just stare at them for fun. If anyone steals a gold bar, shut down that warehouse and post billboards around so everyone knows why the warehouse was shut down. Story 146. Buy a town and set up a barter economy. I want to make cheese from a flock of goats and not have to sell it or waste it. I will deliver my cheese in exchange for your tomatoes or something else. Story 147. In my personal shopper days, I had a client who loved Diptyque's Baize candle. I had to make sure I always had at least 50 every month for her. She liked the large size at 250 Canadian dollars each. She liked to light them once and then toss them. She said she could smell the previously burned wick and hated it. It did not matter if she lit them all day or just for an hour. They were discarded once lit. The burn time was 90 hours. I eventually asked her if I could have her used candles, and she happily donated them to my cause. I still have a large number of the candles. I left that job 4 years ago. Once I am wealthy, I plan to do the same because it is truly unusual behavior. Story 148. Probably order many things on Amazon, then experience an adrenaline rush. Will get bored after traveling. Story 149. I don't know. Maybe go buy some candles and some new clothes. Yes, I could use some new clothes. Story 150. I would buy Zimbabwe and convert the entire country into forest. Story 151. Find new and exciting ways to give to people who genuinely need it, to help the unfortunate, and to make the world better. Crazy, huh? Story 152. Buy cars just to smash into other drivers and cars. For instance, overnight street parking is not allowed in our subdivision. I would use my spare cars to ram the street-parked cars into their driveways. I am told my level of range for it is unhinged. Weaving in and out of traffic to move up a few cars, not anymore. I would stop that immediately. Trying to drive up the line of cars and traffic to cut in at the last minute. Nope, not happening. Story 153. I would rent a backhoe and buy a double-wide trailer. I would bury the trailer in my backyard with a hole cut in the ceiling. I would then install a fireman's pole so you could use it to get in. The next step is to plant grass, run some electrical lines, cut a few inconspicuous vent holes, and buy some trees. This hidden trailer will be accessible only via a secret door you can open by twisting a tree stump. Then I would turn it into a party shack with a big screen and beanbag chairs. Maybe turn one of the rooms into a grow room. I would be on Xbox Live Underground. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.